Estoy haciendo una serie del 9/11 del ataque a las Torres Gemelas y aquí está la historia de este hombre, Tim Brown.
I told his widow, Denise, that when Mike said, "Timmy, I got it," he put his hand on my shoulder, "Timmy, I got it," in front of that elevator, he may as well have had the angel wings coming out of his, because he was the angel sent to save the lives of those innocent human beings. So the last time I saw Mike was at the rig, ladder 4, and he didn't need me. We waved at each other. He went inside with the Hearst tool and the spreaders. I went off to find the paramedics. Under the south pedestrian walkway that went across the top of West Street, there was a paramedic triage area set up. So I found it, I ran over there. It was the Special Operations paramedics, the best in New York City, because I knew them. And I said, Captain Charlie Wells, I said, "Charlie, we have to take you guys inside." That's not normal. Normally they would wait outside for the firemen or policemen to bring them the victims.
Right.
But because everyone was going up the stairs, the firemen, the policemen were going up into the towers, we had to move everybody forward. So we had to move the paramedics forward. So Charlie was like, "Give me a second." They got ready, they got their helmets, they got everything on. We loaded a stretcher up with, I call it doctor stuff, because I don't get it, because that's not how I'm trained. But we loaded it up with all their stuff, and myself and 3 paramedics, Charlie Wells and his guys, ran with the stretcher to go back into the South Tower lobby. As I said, pieces of the building, bodies were crashing into the street from people who had to make the choice of burn to death or jump, and they chose jump. So we're going along as close to the building as we can, 3 World Trade Center, which adjoined the South Tower, 2 World Trade Center. 3 World Trade Center was the Marriott Hotel, which attached to both towers.
Okay.
Right, it was about I guess like a 50-story Marriott Hotel. And so we're going right along on Liberty Street. We're trying to stay as close to it as we can.
Close to the building because there's so much stuff falling.
Yeah.
How far away would it fall?
Maybe 10 or 20 feet out. I mean, not too far. But if you stayed really close, you could hopefully avoid getting crushed like the first fireman did. Danny Sir, I shouldn't say the first fireman. And the tower was set back on the sidewalk a bit. So when you came around the corner of the hotel, you kind of had to go deeper into the sidewalk to get to the door of the South Tower. And we made that turn, and we were about 20 feet from the door going into the lobby of the South Tower when the building collapsed. We were still outside. If we had stepped over that threshold and went inside, we never would have heard it. But because of where we were still on the sidewalk, only 20 feet, but we were still outside. It broke first. A piece of steel snapped because you could hear it clearly. It was such a loud kind of explosion as it snapped that it echoed through the canyons of lower Manhattan. It was loud, like an explosion, man. And
just one loud
boom. Loud boom. And then what we call progressive collapse, as each floor, boom, 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 boom. And it's hard to explain how loud that was to someone that maybe didn't experience it or never experienced it.
So you're 20 feet away from the entrance to the Marriott.
To the South Tower.
To the South Tower.
Yeah.
So you're literally underneath the South Tower as it's collapsing.
Correct. We are underneath it. It was so loud that it was obvious what was happening. We're trained as firefighters that you can never outrun a building collapse. It happens too fast. That you need to seek immediate cover if you have any chance at living. And I knew that it was I knew the building was coming down. And as unbelievable as that sounds, and we had just run by the doors to the Marriott Hotel to go inside the hotel. And my immediate thought was, get in the hotel. Let that structure protect. And so I yelled to the paramedics, follow me. And we ran right back and right into the door of the Marriott Hotel. And the door we ran into was the restaurant in the lobby, which was called the Tall Ships Restaurant.
What was the distance from the Marriott Hotel to the South Tower?
Next to, I mean, adjoining.
Okay.
Adjoining.
Adjoining. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, right there. So we went into the Tall Ships Restaurant, and it was as clear as this room is right now. And then, snap of a finger, it was pitch black. The South Tower was falling on top of the Marriott, and the Marriott was collapsing around us. I hit the ground on my knees. All the debris and stuff was coming at us because the collapse is occurring in front of us. And it was like in our face. Nothing. It was just me. We all lost each other. You couldn't see. The dust was just caking up in your eyes and ears and nose and mouth. And the noise was so loud that I only can compare it to sitting on the tarmac at JFK Airport surrounded by 747s full blast. Like just full blast, and you're sitting on a little stool in between it. I don't know how else to describe how loud it was. You couldn't breathe, you couldn't see, couldn't hear anything except for that loud. And I knew that we find most survivors in a collapsed building next to vertical columns, because vertical columns are the strongest part of the building.
Concrete?
Steel, concrete,
okay.
Whatever's holding that building up, that's the strongest part of the building. And we had often, over the decades, found people alive in building collapses next to columns like that. So we know that from experience. So in my mind, like this, I'm like, find a column. So I just started, and this part's a little unclear to me because I don't remember specifically a lot of it. And I'm a faithful man, and I do believe that in these moments, God was not ready to take me, and he led me to a steel column, huge steel column. It was so big I could hardly get my arms around it, and I wrapped my arms around that, and I held on with all my might because the wind was, my legs were up in the air, my helmet blew off my head. It was trying to blow me out into the street where I had come from, back out to Liberty Street. And somehow I was able to hold on to that column and live. In those moments, my thoughts were, I thought it was so unfair that this is how it was going to end. I thought it was so unfair that I could not say goodbye to my family before I left. And I just waited to get crushed. Some stuff fell on me, but nothing of significance.
What was the biggest thing that fell on you?
I don't know. Pieces of the building.
Nothing that would injured you?
I was not injured at all.
Wow.
I even without a helmet, my helmet blew off.
Right.
Even without having that simple piece of protective equipment, nothing like cut my head open or anything. I mean, not that I remember. My clothes were all ripped up and stuff.
But if you had been blown out into the street,
dead. I could not let go of this column. That is the only way I was going to live. In my mind at the time. Unbelievable that I had the strength to hold on to that column just as a man. Because it was later proven in a scientific study that the wind where I was 180 miles an hour trying to blow me out into the street. So I don't know how I overcame, other than divine intervention, I don't know how I was able to hold on to that and live, other than he, with the capital H, wanted me to live. The wind stopped, the noise stopped, and this was all 20 seconds. I mean, it was so very fast. And I started crawling. I couldn't believe I was alive, and I started crawling toward Liberty Street, but now toward where the door I thought was, but now the building was collapsed, so there's no door anymore. It's just steel and concrete and glass.
pitch black still?
Yeah, pitch black on this brilliant blue sky, sunny day with no humidity. You could see forever. One of those days. No humidity, just gorgeous out. And I came to a truck, and the motor was running, and the headlights were on. It was a diesel motor, and I would think I would recognize it if it was a fire truck, and I did not recognize it as that at all. And all I could think of in maybe not in my right mind at the moment, was that it was a truck bomb. Now they drove a truck bomb into the building. So I turned around and started crawling back the other way. The dust was starting to lift a little bit, so you could start to see shadows of people. And I was yelling, follow me, it's a bomb, follow me. and I came to a metal roll-down gate, you know, that you put down at night or up at the front of your business or whatever. And all I knew is that I wanted to go that way. I wanted to go through that gate. I'm not going back there where what I thought the bomb was. And so I reached down underneath the gate. I got my fingers under it, and I lifted. And when I lifted it up, all these fingers came from the other side of people. And so together we lifted it up, and about 15 people were trapped on the other side of this roll-down gate. And I said, we have to go that way. And they said, there is no that way, it's gone. Right behind them, they were on a ledge, maybe 4 feet wide, between the metal roll-down gate and where the collapse went through the hotel, which is a 7-story drop.
Underground?
Below ground. So first floor, then they had 6 levels underground. So they were trapped. Half the firemen and civilians who they were rescuing were stuck on that ledge, and the other half were killed as the collapse came through right where they were. And so we couldn't go that way, so we turned around and went back the way kind of toward the bomb. And a fireman came through over the rubble from the outside with a really bright flashlight. And one of the females I was with saw it, and started screaming. He started screaming, "Come this way!" And we went toward him, and we all got out of the rubble. I'll stop. There's a lot more that happened, but I'll stop the story there because that's how I lived. That's how I survived. That's the story of some of the heroes. The New York City Fire Department lost 343. The Port Authority Police Department lost 37. And the New York City Police Department lost 23. And the word lost is not exactly correct. They were murdered by radical Islamic terrorists, intentionally murdered by radical Islamic terrorists. The largest loss of life for the New York City Fire Department prior to that was 12 in a supermarket collapse in Brooklyn. The 37 Port Authority police officers is the largest loss of life for law enforcement in American law enforcement history in one incident. And the Port Authority police is a small police department, so percentage-wise, they lost more of their force than the fire department did. The New York City Police Department number was 23. Out of that 23, 14 of them were their elite. Like for the fire department, it's rescue companies is the elite. For the police department, it's NYPD. It's the emergency service unit. And 14 of their guys were murdered. 14 of their guys did the same thing the firemen did. They went up the stairs knowing they likely were not coming back. These are the kind of heroes who I want to talk about, who I want to point out, who fulfilled their oath when they became police officers and firefighters. And that's why when you see a police officer or a firefighter in your community, or you see someone from the military who is or has served, we owe all of them a debt of gratitude and their families because the families are left without kind of their leader. Right? Many of these widows, most of them were men from police and fire department. Most of the widows raised their children by themselves.